Let's talk about zeroing the laser on your Mantis Blackbeard. The Mantis Blackbeard is super simple to use, and that's one of the things that we love about it. I'm sure you love that about it as well. And zeroing the laser is one of the only administrative things that you have to do. So let's talk about how you do that. Now, I do want to address the elephant in the room first. The laser will never line up with the center of the reticle on your optic or with your iron sights. It will always be below your line of sight. And I'll explain why in a minute, but I just wanted to address that first because we've had a lot of people calling in with questions of how to get it to line up with the center of the reticle, the center of the crosshairs on your optic. And it won't ever do that. And I'll explain why, and that is by design of the mechanics of the gun, not the design of Blackbeard. So in order to zero it, the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take this switch that's sitting here in the middle of the ejection port and push it down. Pushing it down will turn the laser on always. Normally it's just on when you fire a shot. It'll give you a pulse, but now it's on all the time, and that will allow you to just look through your optic or iron sights and see it. To make any adjustments, there are these two screws in the front of the bolt carrier group. The bottom is the windage, so that will adjust it left to right. The top is the elevation, which will adjust it up and down. That will adjust where the laser sits in your line of sight. Now I've already adjusted this one, so I can see if I look through that left to right, it's right in the line of those crosshairs, and then the elevation, it's sitting below the center. Now, why is it sitting below the center? A little bit about the mechanics of the gun, a little bit about the design of all rifles. Whenever you mount an optic, or when you have iron sights even, on a rifle, they're going to sit above the bore. So you can see here that my line of sight, as I'm looking through this optic, is about 2.5 inches above the barrel. So that means when I'm looking at a target, if I look at a target here that's just 3 feet away, and I aim at the center of the target, that laser's shining 2.5 inches below the center of the target. Because my optic, what I'm looking through, is sitting above the bore. So how does that work when you're shooting live ammunition and you're hitting the center and aiming at the center? Well, that's zeroing the rifle. When the rifle is zeroed and you're shooting at the zero distance, the trajectory of the bullet matches up with your line of sight. I got a graphic I'm going to throw up here that will explain this. It'll show this a little bit as well. So you can see here on this graphic, the blue line shows the line of sight. That's what you're seeing. Your eye sees in a straight line. And then the trajectory arcs the trajectory of the bullet. So the barrel and the optic are not actually perfectly aligned. They're not perfectly parallel. They're angled to each other so that when the bullet leaves, it's actually shooting upward just a little bit from that line of sight. And then it arcs, and at some point it meets that line of sight. Maybe it meets it once and passes through it. Maybe it just barely touches it. So you might have 2 zeros or 1, depending on how you've zeroed your rifle. And then it will fall back down again. So when you're zeroing the Mantis Blackbeard, you have to recognize that at 3 feet or at 6 feet or 9 feet or any short distances, it's not going to line up with the center of your reticle. It will only line up with the center of your reticle at your zero distance, which for some people might be, on a carbine, might be 25 yards, might be 100 yards. Those are the two most common that I see. And you're not really going to be zeroing your Blackbeard, most likely, at those distances. You're going to be doing it at inside of a room type of thing, so 3 to 7 yards, somewhere in there. So that red dot of the laser, that laser dot is going to be below the center of your reticle, and that is how it will be. That is really truly how it's supposed to be. The last question that we get pretty often is, well, can't I just adjust the laser up because I know I'm always going to be training with Blackbeard at 5 yards? Can't I just adjust the laser so that at 5 yards it's zeroed? You're zeroing the laser to the optic, right? And the answer to that is no. Why? Because the barrel diameter is 0.223. It's a very, very small barrel diameter. So there's not a lot of room for that laser to be adjusted up and down. It can go straight through and give you the actual trajectory, or the place at which the bullet would leave the barrel based on the line of sight of the optic, and it's not going to give you trajectory because lasers also shine in a straight line. But it will match up with what's going to happen in real life, in live fire. So that's how you zero the Mantis Blackbeard laser. If you have any other questions, reach out to our customer service team. They are amazing, and actually the whole reason we have this video is because you guys are reaching out to us. So get out there and train, and let us know on social media. What is it you're doing with your Blackbeard?